never fall. Keep your head up high and standing tall and rising, rising, rising. Keep it high and rising.
Welcome back. And so we get right into it. Focus on leadership, political leadership reform. What do political parties look at, when they're choosing candidates? What are Nigerian expectations when political parties put forward, people who will represent everybody, us, in various public offices and all that? What do Nigerians expect the federal government to consider, when they're putting forward people who would be in their cabinets, Do they consider that Nigerians will see through these people and say, this person is not the right person for this position? Some people even say, are you using it to settle people because they've helped you in past and all that? There's so many questions that arise. They're not my questions, but
before we introduce the guests, I think that's one angle to it. Political patronage, sometimes you do it with appointments. And appoint SA to this, SA to that, head of this corporation, head of that agency, and all fine. But when it comes to getting the job done, when it comes to the proper job of being elected, let's look at it as simply as it is. You are looking for a job.
Yes, and you have to do an interview.
Yes. you are looking for a job. Anyone who wants to be elected into office is looking for a job. I wish to apply as House of Assembly member. You are wishing to apply. It's a job.
Job interview.
Yes. So you are looking for a job. Now, the recruitment agencies are the political parties.
Yes.
Let's try to simplify so that Nigerians can understand how they come in.
Yeah.
Now, it is the Nigerians that are the interviewers. Now, don't let someone's opinion determine your perception of someone looking for a job that you have to offer. Remember, we have said it on this program. Every Nigerian has at least 10 staff. President, Vice President, Senate, House of Reps, Governor, Deputy Governor, House of Assembly, Local Government Chairman, Vice Chairman, Councillor. 10 staff. Only you.
Okay.
And those are just the primary appointments. The secondary appointments are the several
other
associate this one, ASA to this, SSA to that, head of agency, board members and all. Those are the jobs that we are giving to people. So we need to be clear who are the people that we are putting into those positions.
And to help us discuss this and take a look at the real political leadership reform is Taiwo Ojo, Professor of Leadership and Strategy. He joins us in the studio. Thank you.
Good morning,
so much
for having me.
Is that Doctor or Professor?
It's Professor, but I'm not a title. Our African culture is still title.
Which is why I had a feeling. That's why I just went straight with Taiwo Ojo.
As it is, the two other guests are Africans as well, so let's give them the title.
We have
Dr. Atinuke Oyewumi is a leadership expert as well, into human capacity development, organization development, and all. Thank you for joining us this morning, Dr. Oyewumi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I will also have Dr. Olatunji Shobodu, who is also a leadership consultant. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
So, ladies first.
Right. So we've, as we said, you heard what we said during our the opening conversation surrounding this, leadership reform, political leadership reform. What are your thoughts about, as Ayo quite succinctly put it, the recruitment process? The political parties are the, agencies, the recruitment agencies. Nigerians are the interviewers, but do we really get to do our job properly as interviewing these people, or is it yanked away from Nigerians, so to speak?
Thank you once again. Thank you for having me. I want to tie it. In Africa we focus more on elections. Elections every 4 years, 8 years, no achievement. I was just reading a book by one of our leader, Oba Olufala. He launched his autobiography. It was 2 weeks ago. The Triumph of Grace. So I was on maybe chapter 6 about National Development Plan, and something caught my attention, and I took it back to Singapore, and I noticed where Nigeria stopped, and we are just starting now. He said all those plans were approved. They were working with the military. Gowon removed, Muritala came in, Obasanjo came in, but they were not done. So in politics, we speak grammar, we do so many things, but we don't do what we're supposed to do. You were discussing something when I sat about everybody running to Lagos. Why are they running to Lagos? It's the only state that is working. If you look at the grassroots, it's only Lagos that is working.
Well, I bet other state governments are going to argue with you.
They can argue. They can use emotions to say they are doing work, they are working, they are doing this and that. Because political reform is the local government, is the grassroots. Who are the people that want to contest for your chairman? Who are the people that will be vice chairman and your councillors? Because those are the people that is grassroots. And we are apolitical, but human beings must be a politician. And in the trends, in the global trend, we have 5 trends. You have the social leadership, you have the techno, the technology now that is shaping things, AI, techno leadership, that's ST. You have the economic leadership, you have the environment leadership, climate change and etc., and political leadership. But the mystery is that political leadership controls those other 4. So if you are doing well and you put a clown as a political leader, I use that slang, because political leadership is a positional role. Someone that will shape policy for the implementation, for the collective good of all. For the social economic, every trends that you want to choose.
Now, but then there are some other forces that are at play. Let me bring this to Dr. Yomi. There are some other forces that are at play, and maybe you want to help us get a better understanding of that as well. Here is why. Before these people are recruited, they are shortlisted. I'm trying to use HR language, not because I even understand what HR is, but it's just the way it is, right? A good number of people want to get into a job, but then there are so many other people that want to shortlist. Okay, you want this job, that one person wants that job, so we have to bring down the numbers. The people who determine the shortlist are also crucial in this at this time, because there are some people in Nigeria today who said that there was a governor that was supposed to come to party, I think one south state, and there is another one that is believed, in South that should not have been a governor for one reason or the other. Those people who determine who the parties field, do you think they have consideration for qualification or capacity, or is all, as Joker put it earlier, political patronage?
Thank you so much. It's quite interesting. Painful, but then again, it's interesting because we get to talk about this. Something Professor said earlier, he said leadership. And I'm going to just take it away from there. So when a leader is going to shape, that leader is going to shape outcomes according to the shape of their own mind.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's start from there. Okay? And you want to realize that at every level, everyone is a leader. So those people who are fielding or choosing are critical to the system. And then, of course, how they think, how they arrive at their conclusions, their own mental models also have to be examined. So when we're talking about leadership development, we're saying it's necessary at every level for everyone involved in politics. Okay, so, but I am trying to let you know that, yes, of course, how they think, their perspectives, as I said, their mental models are critical and has to be subjected to some kind of scrutiny. So we understand what's going on in your mind. Why are you choosing this person over that person? There should also be some kind of regulation as well. Accountability should start from that level.
But is there even any any consideration for leadership development, Dr. Shobodu, in this selection process? 36 governors at a time. Well, not all of them are going to be, going for re-election or election in 2017, in 2027. And then there are, presidential, House of Assembly, Senate, House of Representatives, all going to the polls. Is there a way for the political parties to determine leadership qualities or leadership development capacity in the people that they are fielding?
Well, thank you once again for having me. I think that we often fall into some kind of trap when we discuss these issues, and the trap is trying to equate politicians to leaders. Wow. There are two different categories of people. Politicians are all about power, the pursuit of power. They are all about position. Politicians want to win elections. Now, the requirement to win elections have little or nothing to do with the qualification of leadership. Wow. What does it take to win an election? Popular appeal, ability to compromise, ability to work with others. These are some of the considerations. The messaging that appeals to people. Now, when you look at leadership is the pursuit of purpose. Leaders, true leaders, are more interested in what the people become under them, what they produce working with the people. So the expectation, especially as elections, draw near, of having quality leadership through the political process may be far-fetched.
But that's not ideal, is it?
Well, that's the reality everywhere.
Yes, I see. Now, I know that. I understand. That's the reality, but that's not the ideal, because essentially you're saying, and a good number of people. In fact, when you said what you said, Joke felt the pain. Felt the pain considering that politicians are leaders is far-fetched. It's painful to know that, but isn't that supposed to be the ideal? Because they are going to be leading people who lead successful organizations.
Well, that's the truth. I mean, do you always realize the ideal position, really, when it comes to anything? But what that means is that, there is work to be done. And I think that's where the power of the people, can come into play. Because when the chips are down, it's the ability of the people to engage. It's the ability of the people, the willingness of the people, to make certain demands. Unfortunately, we also have some challenges with the people themselves, because you ask the question, how do the people identify a true leader or a good leader? People talk about some C's and all of that, but when you really look at that, the average person who goes to vote, how many of those C's do they understand? So again, some of the people who should know, the more enlightened people, tend to stay away from that political process. We feel that we're probably too clean, we can't do the things that they do and all of that. But politics is also about numbers. If you won't get involved and you're expecting that the people, will simply do what is right, conduct themselves appropriately, when many of them lack, that intention, when many of them lack, the capacity, right, then we will just be fooling ourselves.
Right. Okay. And thank you for that, Professor Ojo. I mean, your thoughts on what they have just spoken about. When you're doing that recruitment process, I think a lot of political parties, he talked about a politician is not necessarily a leader, and I was right.
That's jarring.
It was a lot of pain, and I'm like, wow, what a comparison, And really, a lot of political parties focus on personalities, when they're trying to, get people into position, vote for SAU or FAT is the right man for the job. Then they start to reel out his, past accomplishments and all that, and why you should vote for him. And then on the day of election, when campaigning starts, they don't tell you to vote for the person. They say, look for this logo, look for that logo, look for that logo. Because essentially, a lot of people, maybe they look at people at the grassroots. I may not be as educated as that. But those are the ones that give them the numbers. So if those are, some people will be looking for names, but they would have to go for it. So how do we begin to evolve, this process where we can equate, as they have said, politicians
with leadership.
Yeah. Like you're a politician, you're also a good leader, right? Which is why you're now good for the job.
Thank you. Very brilliant question. Thank you to my other two colleagues there. That's why I said political leaders. Politics and leadership. If you say politician is not a leader, who takes decision on your behalf? And
you can't also fault his argument.
You can't. So let me bring it down to our culture here, especially now that we're preparing for political party primary starts April 23rd. People speak grammar, but politician knows the game. Political party starts April 23rd to May 31. And let me cite a typical example. Makane, people know Makane. The former Bank of England governor, the former this, the former that. They had to bring him to come and become Prime Minister of Canada. For you to know how that political role shaped our lives. So I bring it down home. The governor of every state look well when you want to select a governor, because your governor is the type of House of Assembly member that you will have. In Nigeria now today, most of our House of Assembly members are not really, they don't know what to do, because survival is the game now. People are in that position to benefit for their life. But let me take us back to what Awolowo said. Awolowo said, when you're serving, it's a privilege to serve. While you are serving, taking care of other people, your own needs would automatically be met. So, like my sister said about the mindset, we can continue to do leadership training, leadership that, leadership this, take politicians to training abroad, which they normally do. But thank God for this government, they've reduced it now. Just go travel, go and do shopping. They learn nothing. Let us come and do those things to them. We have schools that are doing leadership. We have this leadership academy. We have Citadel School of Government. We have the one by Dr. Obi, that they are shaping policy. Whether you like it, if you go there, you do 3-month course, your perspective will change. Because leadership, especially political leadership in our country, is a big deal. Most people there, they are completely overwhelmed. I deal with politicians, so I know they do not have any clue. When you give a local government chairman 2 billion naira, he doesn't know what to do with that money. The first thing he will be thinking of is, how can we, when we pay salary, when we pay teacher, I buy jeep, I take my people abroad to secure them. Those are the mindset that occur. And, I said it here. I said Lagos State. There's a reason why I'm talking about Lagos State. Because I've been in Lagos State for over 30 years now. Lagos State is the only state in Nigeria that local government is working. It might not be working as we all expect, but the 57 SCDA, and at least you will see a semblance of progress because they have funds.
Why do you think this is happening? Is it just about the funds?
It's the leadership structure that was laid in Lagos State when the current president was governor. People don't like him. You don't need to like a president. Anybody that becomes president in Nigeria, even if they bring Jesus Christ or they bring Prophet Muhammad or all those other deities, let them come and become president. You will become enemy number 1 to Nigerians. Because a typical Nigerian wants to reap where he or she has not sown. We want instant gratification. We don't believe in process. We don't believe in waiting for process. When he was governor, he had issue with Obasanjo. He created the SCDA 37 because Lagos had 20 local governments because of political reasons in Nigeria. SCDA, that creation of SCDA in 2005, make it 57. That's why you see everybody running to Lagos. Now, my response, especially now that we're going to political, they are going to do House of Assembly, primaries, House of Reps, Senate, governors, and president. Let us focus on our House of Assembly members. Leave Lagos. Lagos is the one working. Can we replicate Lagos in all Nigerian states? We're talking about insecurity. I've been to most northern states. I'm sorry to the governors that there are no governance. There are no roads. Most of those areas that you see that there are insecurity, the roads are bad. There's no semblance of development there. So when everything has collapsed, no bank, no telecoms, no police station, automatically it becomes an open field.
Maybe the more extreme rural areas, or because they have urban cities in those northern states
it's only
as
the
well.
State capital. I'm talking about northern states.
Yes,
from
Jalingo
to Kaduna to Kano to state capital is the only development. Anybody can come and prove me wrong. State capital. I've been to nearly all northern states in Nigeria, so I know what I'm talking about. State capital is the only development. All the other local government, they are just there to be able to share money. And the essence of political leadership is to give good governance to your people. I've been working on Confucian culture of China from 1934. China they don't practice our political style. China is a communist party. Order from above down. If you disobey, you are taken off. Gone. They do not play with disloyalty. And China, in the last 25 years, China took 800 million people out of poverty. And everything happened through the local government system. So Nigeria, we can do it. We are making progress. At least we started in 1999. Military leadership. Now we are removing military now. If you know now, military is getting out of the game. Military mindset is getting out of the game. Let us talk.
Okay.
Politician, let us discuss and agree. Not through force, not through coercion, but let us talk and agree and choose one of us to represent us. Okay. But the main ball game is, how do we develop our country? Okay. How do we build our people from where they are?
And as you leadership people always tell us, according to John Maxwell, everything rises and falls on leadership. So, Dr. Oyewumi, where do we go from here? There are those who have also pointed to the fact that the people who are in politics are the only ones that will be selected by the political parties. Unfortunately, there is that assumption out there that politics is dirty and nobody wants to get their hands dirty. And I usually have this analogy, Dr. Oyewumi, that if politics is dirty and you don't want to get your hands dirty, it's like the plate is dirty and you don't want to enter the kitchen to wash it. And in the process of washing the plate, your hands will become dirty. But in the process of continuing to wash, you clean both your hands and the plate. Now that the political parties are going around consulting, as they always say, what should they be thinking about? And when they field candidates that are not up to par, what should be the consideration of the electorate in employing the people that they want in office?
Thank you so much. There's so many questions in your
yes, I know.
Your statements. I'll try my best to commentate. So I think let's take it away from the fact that politics and leadership are not one and the same. And in that situation, you would want to say that anybody who occupies a position, anybody who occupies a leadership position, if you're a politician, you're occupying a position, you definitely need to have the capacity to function in that position. And I believe that it is because the capacity has not been there that governance is difficult. So when we understand the complexity of leadership, And as we are putting effort in getting the selection or election done, there should be that corresponding effort to ensure that there is capacity in place for the people who are going to sit in offices. So this would happen or could happen at several levels. You could have the government institutionalizing that and ensuring that anybody occupying a position, as I said before, should have, come in prepared. When you come in, you're even half prepared. When you get into that position, then you continue to develop.
But shouldn't, Dr. Yumu, I apologize for butting it, shouldn't the political parties insist on qualification, not necessarily paper qualification, but the person should have some antecedents? Because the person may not be able to come prepared for the office, Dr. Yumu, if the person was not qualified in the first place.
I think that will still go back to what you said before, that the people who are available are the ones you get to work with. Remember you said it. So many people feel politics is dirty and they don't want to get their hands dirty. And you're not going to blame them, of course, because that's how we practice it here. So we have a multifaceted problem, and we need different solutions at different levels.
Okay.
It isn't just one thing that will solve the problem, but we need to look at this level, what should we be doing? Within the political party systems themselves, should they also think about building the capacity of the people? In some places, those kind of things happen, right?
Actually, my statement is has its roots in what Chief Lamidi Adedibu, late Lamidi Adedibu said, or is quoted to have said, that if you don't want to know the secret of your grandfather and great-grandfather, don't join politics. So that is probably why so many people, are afraid to get their hands dirty and all of that. But Dr. Shobodu, what you said is still painful, and I'm almost certain that so many people are thinking about it.
Yes, and they are watching you. Really. I'm wondering.
Well, thankfully, you are a leadership tutor. You are into leadership development, so you'll be able to help along the way. Now, we need leaders in politics. Otherwise, we will not get the kind of development that we want in the nation. Dr. Shobodu, you would agree with me on that. So, correct. What do we need to do now? What are the lessons as we begin to take it home? What are the things we should be asking of the political parties? Particularly because I've seen it, you must have seen the series of pictures of the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Bafemi Hamzat, having consultations, they call it. The people they're going to talk to, what are the things that should be playing in their head, as they agree or disagree is with the candidates that are coming to them, particularly in the light of the fact that consensus is one of the strategies for selection in the Electoral Act.
Okay, I think that, the Prof has repeatedly made reference to Lagos, and the fact that Lagos is working. I guess that, submission is really in relative terms. And I think he acknowledged that because there is a lot of room for improvement. But let's look at why Lagos is working. Why is Lagos working? I think Lagos was fortunate to have someone who was a politician but had leadership exposure. And that dates back to when the current president was in Lagos. The trajectory of governance and the quality of leadership, in Lagos changed from when the president was governor of Lagos State. Now, look at the antecedents of, the president before he came into that position. Look at the exposure that he had. He had worked, with Mobile, with accounting firms and all of that, and there is the discipline, that you imbibe having that kind of exposure, all right, before coming, so he had all of that before coming into politics. Now, I believe that he was able to rise above some of those excuses that, those with his kind of background would usually, hold on to. And that is the fact that, he didn't quite consider that politics was too dirty, for him to get involved with. He wasn't the kind of person, who didn't understand that when you come to politics, it's never going to be a winner takes all. You must be able to work with people. You must be able to compromise. At times, you must be able to work with interests that may even be at variance with what you want. Okay? I think he understood a particular counsel, and permit me to draw this counsel, from the Bible. Jesus was talking and he said, you are going out as a lamb in the midst of wolves. When you are operating as a lamb in the midst of wolves, your strategy is not to present yourself as a lamb. He said, you must be wise as a serpent, and you must be innocent as doves. That's what many people who run away from getting involved in politics, but have the background, a background like that of the president, that's what they miss. That you can actually operate within that sphere and be innocent, but at the same time, you are smart enough to work with these people, who have had significant influence in how things get done. There is no question about people with the right background getting involved. Notice that after the president left, look at the people who came in. They were products of the president. There were people, Dr. My colleague earlier on said, it is what you have that you shape into the people.
Okay.
And that we have seen that, thus far. You are looking also, and I'm rounding up with this, at Dr. Amzat. If you understand how the current governor in Lagos even came up, you know that it was really between himself and the deputy governor. It was a compromise, from what we understood. So it's time now. And there is succession, as it were, in place. So you wonder why those in Lagos look more like, politicians who actually have a capacity to lead. That explains it all. It's interesting. Had always been there.
Yeah, it's
the governor had always been there.
Yeah,
and he had the kind of background that the president had. He came from banking and all of that. If you look at Dr. Amzat,
it is sounding to me, Dr. Shobodu, that you and Professor Ojo are campaigning for the president. And it is sounding. I didn't say you are. I said it sounds like the two of you.
In fact,
because there are those who would also cite the example, for instance, of Donald Duke, what he did, in Cross River State. However, the challenge is that the problem of sustainability of his initiatives were absent. Maybe that is what is different in Lagos. Your concluding thoughts, Prof.
Thank you, Dr. Shobodu. We're not campaigning for anyone.
It sounds like you.
What we are saying is what is glaring for all to see. Now you spoke about Donald Duke. You spoke about Bola Tinubu. They are all 1999 governors. The difference between all of them is the succession.
You
have to be in control of who succeeds you. And you have to look within your team.
Why must they be? It's a democracy.
There's something we call leadership departure style. You have the generals, you are removed. You don't plan for it. You have the ambassadors, that's the best. You have the monarchy, you die. So if you take it to Africa, it's the monarchy that we do here. And you have the governors, they want to put their stooge, or they want to put people that will play their own interest. Remember, politics is about interest. You might not get the best person. You're talking about Lagos politics. The person that will determine, they have structure. The president will determine the next governor. Anybody can be doing politics and be playing politics. They know these are the way it has been since 2007. People that make noise, they do not necessarily get it. We are strategists. We don't follow social media. People that make noise in Lagos, they do not always get that seat, because that seat is all about loyalty, and loyalty. And you want to follow the ladder. The president had gone up, and he will do the same thing. That's why the electorate only gives two options. People don't know. People don't know that those things are strategic decisions that has institutionalized our electoral process from the campaign, from going to another party. Now, if you want to contest in 2031 now, start now. You know, politicians, they don't plan ahead. Start now. Because 2031 has started. 2027 has ended. Wow. If you are working for it, it's gone.
Okay.
Start now. So, just to capital, I want to encourage our people from the private sector to go into public leadership. No matter how good you are, you've done well in private sphere. You know, if you don't have influence on the social system, they will mess up what you built over years. Because you need the best people in private sector to go to political leadership, but you can't thrive in political leadership if you are not humble. Humility is a virtue there. If you look down on people, say they are riffraff, they are this, they are that. There are kind of people in politics, whether in America, whether in Canada, whether in the UK, it's the same game. The only difference is the institution.
Okay.
And we're building the institution so that we can encourage people to focus more on that local game. Chairman, House of Assembly, Senate, Rep, and our governors.
Usually a little. I feel funny when I hear that politics is a game, and they are using my life to play a game.
It's an emotional game.
Anyway, we'll come. Dr. Yomi, your last thoughts on this conversation.
Well, thank you. It's been an interesting conversation. I would say that since it looks to me now like getting into the game may be so difficult, right? I think over the years we've seen that. So what it means that there must be effort to develop the people who are in the game. And you should not separate leadership from those people. They are leaders and they must lead. I'm not saying they always lead, but as I said before, once you occupy that position, you must demonstrate capacity. So we should focus on leadership development for political leaders.
Right. And thank you for all your thoughts and everything that you've said concerning this. And in wrapping up, in Gombe State, for instance, about 13 new LCDAs have been created by Governor Unuwayaya, and they say it's fashioned after those created in Lagos State.
Are you also campaigning?
No.
Just say.
When President Bola Tinubu, was governor. So I think, some states, I believe, are taking a cue from that. But, it's great that we have that. Well, thank you again for joining us on the program, those who did join us. You in the studio, Professor Taiwojo. Thank you for your time on that. Yes, we also have Dr. Atinuke Oyewumi, Human Capacity Development, Organization Development Consultant. She joined us virtually. Thank you for your time. We also had Dr. Olatunji Shobodu, Leadership Consultant. Thank you for your time as well. It was a very interesting and powerful conversation. Kayo.
Yes, so when we return, time to look at how you've been leading yourself at this time. We'll talk about that after this break.